Good evening and welcome to the March 11, 2025 work session of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. My name is Chad Brown. I represent the chairman, as the chairman of the board, I represent the Riverbend Township. I would like to welcome our viewers and thank Spectrum Cable and AT&T for making it possible for our citizens, for our television audience and live stream audience. I would like to present your Gaston County Commission, beginning on my far right.
Good evening, Scott Sheehan, Gastonia Township.
Jim Bailey, South Point Township.
Good evening, Kathy Cloninger, Dallas Township.
Bob Hovis, Crowders Mountain Township.
With the privilege of the board, I would like to move around some things while Commissioner Keeger's still en route to do some things. So I'm going to push it around just a little bit to go ahead and do the presentation, if that's all right for everybody. And what we'll do, we'll just start with the presentations and then we'll move through that. We'll come back to those. But what I do, I like to start with presentations. When we do that, we'll go for the Lake Wylie Marine Commission Charter Boat and Vessel Rental Regulation Update. Mr. Ray Weber's here, Chairman of the Lake Wylie Marine Commission. Mr. Weber?
And it's up for you guys to see, correct or no? Cool. Thank you. I'm Ray Weber, Lake Wylie Marine Commission. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Predecessor and current Executive Director Neil Brennan is recovering from knee surgery, so I apologize that you're going to get the second string. When we talk about the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, just a message that a reminder what we do for the the counties that surround Lake Wylie. We promote public policies and support the regulations for the preservation of Lake Wylie, its wildlife, and the education and safety of the lake, of the citizens of the lake. So the focus here tonight is going to be on some of the safety issues that have come up. We presented this earlier, about 8 months ago, charter boat regulation. That's what the topic is to talk about tonight. And the purpose is really to ensure that those who rent vessels do so safely. And we establish a common set of standards for rented vessels, as well as charter boats. That's not mentioned. We didn't just come up with this. The law enforcement community from all three counties has come to us and said we have no tools in our bag to address any of these issues. We have there's unsafe vessels out there. There's unqualified captains. There's unqualified renters. Nationally, more than 5,000 boating accidents happen each year, and almost the second leading cause of it is unfamiliarity with the boat, lack of knowledge. Obviously, the first one would be driving or boating while impaired. So we are here to address the one that hasn't been addressed, which would be getting people having regulations to improve the safety. The regulation enhancements, we're trying to eliminate the unsafe rental operations that are on the lake at operating illegally from the boat ramps without Duke's approval, and also from homes and VRBOs. Lake Norman has already implemented the Lake Norman Marine Commission has already implemented theirs in 2024. They already had a charter boat regulation, so they added to their charter boat. And again, just to address the safety issues that they were having. It included documentation, instruction, insurance, and safety checks. We also, in 2024, just to kind of talk a little bit, the Lake Wylie Marine Commission implemented a jet ski regulation that mirrored the North Carolina jet ski regulation for insurance. You have to have insurance in North Carolina to rent a jet ski, and it was not a requirement on the renter and the rentee to have insurance. So that was implemented last year. Again, all we're doing is regulations that are required for safety. Previously, I think there was some comment that we might be a little bit over our skis on whether we could make these rules or not. I think that was from a prior attorney. for Gaston County. It was really looking at what was a rule that the General Assembly had made to limit the General Assembly from making local laws, and it was interpreted to say that the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, under our statute, could not make regulations. It was actually just opposite of what was said. We had outside counsel look at that, and now I think we don't have any disagreement with your new attorney here at the county level. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that fog or misunderstanding has been removed. You know, the comment that any such regulation by the General Assembly will be void. There's a number of things that the North Carolina General Assembly is not allowed to do, and the one that they were focusing on was actually not one that we were doing. Again, the Lake Wylie rental regulation has been proposed to maybe make it a state regulation instead of just a lake-wide regulation. I think the reason that we were given the power to write our own regulations is to move faster than maybe the state can in getting our regulations in place for the safety of the boating community or the lake community. And that's really what we're doing, is trying to get this thing in place. Should a state regulation come around, you know, ours would become null and void. It would be unnecessary. I want to make sure that everybody understands it, but we are able, you know, to basically put these regulations in place quickly, and I think that was the design, to customize them. Within the regulation, there's three types of boats that are really, or vessels that are, that come up underneath this charter. One is under this regulation. One is a charter boat regulation, the charter boats, bareboat charters, and I'll explain that in a second, and rental vessels. A charter boat, you know, obviously is a boat that, you know, somebody is going to rent the boat and the captain to take them out and either sightsee or fish or maybe whatever they want to do. A bareboat charter looks a little bit more like a rental boat, but they've rented the captain also that go with it, and that's really a Coast Guard term. We tried to pull as much of the language as we could from the Coast Guard regulations so that we don't have to create a regulation that doesn't comply or line up with Coast Guard. So that term is basically when somebody rents a boat and they rent the captain also. So if you see that, just understand that it's kind of it falls in a gap that the Coast Guard has defined. And obviously a rental vessel is something that is just, you know, they rent the boat from a proprietor and they're required to, they have a rental agreement. Question is, who are these proprietors that are out there? Established companies, you know, whether they have a marina, or their own operation already, they're not the ones we're really worried about. They helped us draft this. In fact, they were the ones that pointed out that we need to have the bareboat piece in there. These are, you know, well-regulated, insured, have been there for years. The ones that we're really worried about are the individuals who operate either out of a house or out of a website, and they don't have insurance. It's a cash business. There's really, they're not even qualified captains many of the times. So this is where the problem exists. They show up on the public marinas and they pick up their charters there. That's not allowed under Duke's guidelines. You have to have approval at to operate a business at their property. And the other ones that take into consideration are the short-term property renters along the lake, VRBOs, and Airbnb. Sorry, I got behind. So the regulation requirements they're pretty minimal. We want the Lake Wylie Marine Commission will have stickers on the boats, identify them as a charter or a rental. The U.S. Coast Guard certification for charter boat captains, so the captains will have to have their six-pack license, which is the term that they use. Six-pack is not a drink, it's six-passenger. So if you're a charter boat captain and you have less than 6 passengers, you'll be required to get that, and it's not unduly, the guys who drive the towboat and the vessels, they have their captain's license. Anybody who's a legitimate coastal charter, they have their licenses. Within that, and then there's formal training and requirements and insurance for the proprietors. There'll be vessel examinations, and the vessel examinations, that we're proposing are vessel examinations that the captain must have for his charter, or that a list of items that we will provide the rental agencies, that they have to go down and say, these are the items that a safe boat has. And they will sign off on every one. They won't have to go out every year and get but before every rental, they will check their boat to make sure it's safe and it has the equipment that is required. Some people, in fact, during this process, we thought we would have somebody inspect many of these vessels. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna, the Coast Guard inspects the vessels that the Coast Guard captains have to do, or they're uninspected, and the rentals are inspected by the rental agency, and they have a list of things they have to go down, and they check it every time. What we don't want to do is have somebody check it 4 months ago, and much of the infrastructure is now missing from the boat. So the rental people will have to and sign off on every rental that the equipment was there and the boat's in the right condition. Trying to make it easy to implement, and they'll also have to have a map of Lake Wiley, and they have to have insurance for the personal watercrafts. Jump to page there. What's changed from the last time we talked? We added the bareboat feature, which we think is a good addition. We deleted the requirement for non-motorized boats to have any requirements, because it's, that could be a small sailboat, it could be a big sailboat. We're not gonna address those guys. That's not part of what we wanna charter. We moved it from an annual to a biennial, so every other year in a permit. And then we also asked for a pre-rental safety ride-in checklist. So then so by doing that, we put the onus of inspecting the boat onto the renters. Obviously, we've had this thing reviewed more times than I really want to admit to, but we have had it reviewed. The draft actually was drafted by the rental community and Lake Norman's input. We've pushed it past the U.S. Coast Guard, the Gaston County, York County, NC Wildlife, and the CMPD. So this has seen a lot of eyes. What we wanted to do is make sure that the people who will have to enforce this are the people who've been concerned and complaining about it. Did we address their complaints, and is it something that they can stand up to? So that's why we pushed it. And remember, Lake Wiley is a federal waterway, so at the end of the day, on the weekends that the Coast Guard is here, they will have to comply. And they have stopped people on the lake who were suspected of chartering boats. So we wanted it to have one set of rules that looked a lot like the federal guidelines when the federal people are here, so that it isn't like, oh, you're not the federal guys, you got a different set of rules. So it looks very much like it. The requirement to have a U.S. Coast Guard captain's license, that takes the onus off of all of us. That's a requirement that the Merchant Marine Service basically sets. These are the standards that you have to have, and they're done that way. And then, we've gone back and forth a few times to make sure that we were in accordance with the state law. That's kind of where I started. I talked fast, and I apologize. I am from the Midwest, I won't say, but I worked for a lot of people in the New England area, and they don't sit still very long. So I apologize. I'm not retired, but I also am a Coast Guard auxiliarist for Lake Wiley, so I've seen the damage this stuff does. I've pulled the people out of the water, so I can talk with authority. I can't talk officially because I am not authorized by the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary to talk about anything. So I can answer questions as the chairman of the Lake Wiley Marine Commission.
Is there any questions this time wishing to come? Mr. Bailey?
Yes, enforcement. You said mainly the Coast Guard would be doing most of the enforcement?
Only on the weekends they're here. I mean, this is a law that is set to be enforced at the county level. We have pushed this by the attorneys within the counties. I have reached out to York County, because I am a York County resident, and talked to their prosecuting attorney. All he really was concerned about is to make sure he understood the law, and he's reviewing it right now. I've reached out to the prosecutor here, Travis
Page.
Page. I have not heard back yet. He's busy, and so I don't have an answer on that.
What about with the county police? I think they have a boat unit, correct? Well,
Yeah, a marine, yeah, county,
Right.
yeah.
right. What about workload? How would that mess, if you don't mind, Chief? Sorry.
No, that's fine. I don't think you're gonna have to do this more than once or twice, and the message will get out there.
So in regards to the workload out there, for Lake Wiley, we run one boat during the summer with a crew of maybe 2 or 3 officers, depending on staffing levels. And that's to patrol all our areas of the lake. You know, our primary purpose out there is to make the lake a safe place for people to go out and enjoy. So there's a lot of interaction with boaters for safety checks, educational purpose, those kind of things. We certainly enforce when it's needed and when it's warranted. But this will be one more area, you know, if it is passed, that, you know, we could look at enforcing. But again, we still have our discretion on what we enforce.
Do you see it as a problem with the workload added?
It's just I don't know if it'll be a problem, but again, we have one boat on the lake, right? And that is all. So when that boat is tied up doing an enforcement action, then there's nobody else patrolling or making sure the parts of the lake are safe.
Any other questions? Well, I have a few, Chief, if you don't mind to stay there as well.
Yes,
But
sir.
my question's gonna be, Mr. Weber, I mean, obviously, our issue is about safety. And that's what we're out on the lake to do, is to make sure people, and you said the DUIs are already there. If a jet ski is speeding or whatever, we're gonna check into those already. My problem is, it puts us at a difference. Why are we not going to Luke Farley, the insurance commissioner, to try to get this passed with anybody who has to have insurance to have boater safety regulations, rather than having it come down to the smallest level that's already there to do the job? And I take that because it does take a lot to have to pull somebody over. If we're just pulling them over to see about insurance, now, I don't mind doing it if they're an occupant of something we've already got, you know, speeding or DUI, something we've already, you know, addressing, but that just puts our police at a different disadvantage. I'm sorry to say that but, you know, and I'm going to take up for David here. You know, our last attorney, he looked at it and didn't have some problems, so we want to review this with David to get some clarity on it. But if it's a charter boat company, they have a reputable institution, like you said, somebody who has something there, this should be stopped before it even gets to this point, to where we're having our police force ride around like with radar detectors trying to figure out what people are doing, speeding up and down the water. We're going to do that already if we see reckless type of issue. That's why I just don't like this. You talked about a captain. Captains are licensed and they're insured and bonded. So a lot of that comes from that's part of somebody rents that. That's all on them. That's all in the rental agreement. That's where I think we need to take this with teeth and try to find some other way to make it to where if you get caught without it, then all of a sudden there's a penalty. Because right now, what is the penalty that we're going to do? We're going to arrest them and put them in jail for not having it? What is the penalty phase? So that's another whole total issue for me. And like I said, I've been on the boat with these guys out riding around to see what happens, because I want to know about every entity we have here. But as far as the lake already, we're already there for safety. We're out there, and we've been doing that, and without a lot of issue. But, you know, Charlotte's got a couple boats out there. Somebody else, you got fire out there. So the fire, they can't do this, but they're on the lake. So the only people who can be able to do it is the police force from Charlotte, Mecklenburg, or if we would decide the Gaston County Police and the Coast Guard. I mean, the wildlife, they're only there when there's a wreck. That's what they're doing. They're the safety patrol on the lake. So I have a different opinion. I want to find out about some of these issues. And David, if you don't mind, when you guys can talk about some of the issues of how we can do it and regulate, I want to know the penalty phase of what that is. And I want to know, can we go to the insurance commission and say, you got to have something before you do these agreements to have it? Because I think that's where it has teeth. And I don't think right now we have teeth. And that's one of the problems I've always had with these. I sat on the Lake Wiley Marine Commission. I sat on the Mountain Island. And every time it was always regulation, regulation, regulation. And it was never about, we should have voter safety classes for these people. We could talk to the state. We have a great legislative agenda that we can talk to them and push this with the Mountain Island Marine Commission, the Lake Wiley Marine Commission, and we can make it have teeth. But just by having our police force do it, I'm not in favor of it right now because it's taken away, because we're already there for safety. And so that's my whole problem. I want to make sure we're there for safety and make sure people have a good time rather than we're out here checking boats for registrations and insurance.
Can I respond to a
Yes,
couple of
please.
those? What we hear from the towboat and the folks that are responding to accidents and problems on the lake is that overwhelmingly it is the uninformed boater that's out there. And a lot of times it's coming from a VRBO or it's coming from, one of these guys that's launching off of, Buster Boyd. And so they don't have insurance. They would never have insurance. The guys who do it right have insurance. The guys that do it right have captain's license. The guys that operate off of a trailer off of Buster Boyd Bridge, they don't. I guarantee you, they don't even have insurance. They're not captains, and they're the ones making the mistakes, and they're the ones getting the calls. In fact, I understand from Towboat that one of the guys had a towboat license or contract, and he called and he said, "Hey, I'm out here with my charter, and I got a problem." His towboat insurance, to help him get off the rocks or wherever he was, is null and void because he was under hire, and he foolishly said that. That guy is being investigated right now by the Coast Guard because of that. So we built this thing in cooperation with the charter boat companies that are out there. And they didn't have a problem with it. In fact, they said this is leveling the playing field, because they got guys out there giving us a bad name. So there's some teeth in here. I mean,
But I also think that we have to look at it logically from our standpoint, not just somebody you got one entity, I got 37. And now I'm going to add more to what's happening by the same token to where, how come if you come over there, you're going to have a license for your car, you're going to have a license for your trailer, you should have a registration on your boat. I mean, I'm not going to have somebody sitting down at the dock, sitting there looking at somebody and seeing what happens. I think this has got to be a different way we view this. And I'm not trying to pick on what you guys, I think what you guys do is great. But this has got to change the way we look at it because I don't want them riding around going, okay, Bob, you got a registration, Matt, you don't. That's not what we're there to do. We're there to make sure people are safe. And that's what happens by seeing people who speed or do things, too close to the rocks or in these areas. And I think that's what we talked about it before when, our last lawyer, who I thought did a heck of a job on this, talked about getting over your skis. It was over the skis and some of the things that they're trying to push. So I want our lawyer to be able to look at it and have our input and not saying that the Lake Wiley Marine, we have the power. No, we are going to be involved in it because we pay to be there. And we don't have to if we don't want to. So I'd like to see you get with them at some point just to try to mesh up. I want it to have teeth. If it's going to have teeth to where our officers aren't sitting out there trying to figure out, if Johnny's got a cocktail, we're going to know that. We'll figure that out. And then if they don't have insurance in part or they don't have a rental agreement that has it, but we need to go to the legislature and have them. Even though you said they don't, they have it because the insurance commissioner will do it. And I guarantee you, I can sit there and talk to them about making sure it happens. But we got to do it the right way. So that's just my thoughts on it.
That's fine, and I'd be happy to help. I spent
Any other questions from
10
the
years in
board?
the insurance industry. So,
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming tonight. That's just like I said, I've been on this for a long time, and that's why I want to make sure we do it the right way and not have our police pushed in the corner to have to sit there for that. But thank you so much, sir.
thank you.
The next presentation is North Carolina DOT I-85 construction update. Mr. Cole Gurley, PE, Deputy Division Engineer, Division 12 NCDOT, and Mr. Michael Penny, PE, Alternative Delivery Project Manager of North Carolina DOT. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'm sorry, Tom, we'll do it before Justin's thing. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for having us. Where's my slides at? How do I get to it?
That's you.
Yep, that's me.
And then it's F5 again. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank y'all for having us. Again, my name's Cole Gurley. I am the Deputy Division Engineer here locally in Division 12, and I do have Mr. Michael Penny with me this evening. I will try to be brief as we have a lot of information to give to y'all tonight. We're going to give an overview on the I-5719 project, which is the widening of I-85 in Gaston County. Let's see if that works, yes. I-85, the I-5719 project will be delivered in 3 segments. I'm going to list them here of how they'll be delivered, which is the I-5719B, the I-5719C, and the I-5719A projects. And graphically, this will show you how it's being delivered. The B section, project limits are from the Catawba River to exit 23, which is McAdenville Road. That section is 4.1 miles in length and includes project U5800 in it as well. The C section, as you can see, lies within the I-5719A project limits. This project is happening concurrently more or less with the B section. This project will replace 3 rail bridges and 1 roadway bridge as lengthy rail coordination time is anticipated. The final section will be I-5719A, which the project limits are from exit 23 McAdenville Road to exit 17, which is US 321. This section is 6.4 miles in length and includes project U6044. As we move to the next slides, I will give an overview of what's being proposed, and Mr. Penny will discuss the project procurement status, let dates, and delivery methods. So as we start in the B section, it starts at the Catawba River on the page right. There's no widening in this section. It's already 4 lanes in each direction. There'll be surface drainage replacement and paving going on here. Moving west, you'll see Belmont, Mount Holly Road interchange will be shifted to the west, including a realignment of Mount Holly Road and North Main Street. There is 1 rail bridge, but it's a DOT rail line and it's inactive currently. To the south, you'll see the project U5800, which I mentioned earlier. That's improvements at Wilkinson Boulevard to US 74 and Belmont Mount Holly Road or Main Street. And to the north, you'll see the realignment of Belmont Mount Holly Road continuing with roundabout termini at the entrances for Belmont Abbey College. As the widening continues west, they'll replace a bridge at Hickory Grove Road over 85. And then as you get to the South Fork of the Catawba River, that bridge will be rehabilitated and widened to accommodate the future lanes on 85 there. This project will conclude at exit 23, but the interchange work at McAdenville Road will be performed under this project. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Penny for.
Good evening, thank you. The delivery method for the B section of the project is called design build. What the department does is we've done the environmental screening for the project and done preliminary plans. We then go out to the industry, and the design build community, which is made up of contractors and designers, put together a proposal based on information we provide them. This is a copy of what they get. It covers everything that the preliminary plans do not cover, all the requirements that the department is going to want on the project. This has everything from roadway design to aesthetics to structures to sediment erosion control, hydraulics, drainage, the structures themselves, and things of that nature. So we have to be very explicit. The teams will then, we issue several copies of this. This is currently the final. We've been in procurement since October. Moving forward, the teams will put together a proposal and submit that. We will be reviewing the proposals in June of this year. And then there will be the award in July when the board meets. And it's a 2-part process. We rank their proposals, and they provide a lump sum bid. There are no line items. So each team will provide a lump sum bid. We have 4 teams that are put in on this project. And we've had 2 rounds of discussion, and we have probably another round of discussion with the teams for clarification to this document. So it's an iterative process. We use it on large, complex projects. We also use it to help in streamlining the process. The team will do both the design and assist the department in right-of-way procurement and do the construction. So it's a condensed, instead of a traditional bid build where we design the project, we acquire the right-of-way, and then we go to construction. So we compress all that in one process.
Thank you. Moving on to the IP 719C project. Again, it lies within the limits of the A section, and the real intent of this project is there will be 3 rail bridges replaced on this project and 1 roadway bridge. The intent is to get these railway bridges out of the way so that the A project can move forward, because there will be expected, lengthy coordination with the railroads there. The first bridge is here at Grove Street is 1 roadway bridge will be replaced, and then adjacent to it there, the Norfolk Southern line will be realigned and replaced there. And then at East Ozark Avenue, NC7, to the east is the Norfolk Southern line with the rail yard tracks on the bridge there. And then to the west is a P&N railroad, which is a DOT rail line, but it is active. And I'll let Mr. Penn talk about CMGC, which is how this is being delivered.
CMGC is contractor managed general construction. What we do in this process, it's similar to design build. But in this case, the department actually hires or puts under contract the design firm. Then we go out to procurement for a construction company. And then the third part of it is the ICE, which is an independent engineering firm that will review both the designer's estimate and the contractor's estimate and provide a non-biased opinion as to what is the fair price for the work to be done. But the contractor has a lot of input with the designer during the process. This has been awarded. This was awarded in February. The team is Flatiron and Herzog. Herzog has done a lot of work for Norfolk Southern, so we feel that they will help streamline the process with regards to what we are designing so that Norfolk Southern won't have as many objections. The railroad does take a while to get through their process. Their standard review in each section is typically 3 months, and each phase of the work, there are 4 phases of work, so when you add roughly 9 months to each one of those, it does take a while to get through. That's why we're starting so early on these. We're anticipating not having Norfolk Southern approval on their lines until 27. So it does unfortunately take a while. Their priorities and our priorities are a little different. So.
Moving on to the last section that will be delivered is the IP 719A section. Again, it starts at exit 23 McAdenville Road and goes to US 321. Again, beginning here at McAdenville Road, and we'll start page left, we'll go west. At exit 22 in Lowell there, you'll see the interchange is reconstructed, new ramps, roundabout termini there. The bridge at South Church Street will be replaced as well. This is just the slide of the widening will continue westward by Sam's, Walmart, Lowe's, that area. Project includes ramp improvements and new bridges at Cox Road. You can see Page South, that is the footprint for U6044 project, which is improvements on Cox Road, which will be widening of Cox Road and improvements at Franklin Boulevard and Cox Road there. And on the left side of the page there, you'll see Aberdeen Boulevard is going to be realigned with a new structure over 85 as well. New Hope Road to the page right, it's proposed for a diverging diamond interchange. And then to page left there at East Ozark or NC7, there'll be, new structure over 85 and ramp improvements there as well. And as you go further west, Medina Street Bridge will be replaced with a new longer structure over 85. And as we go through that curve, we're going to widen to the inside to flatten that curve to improve safety through that curve. And then finally, Dr. MLK Wade Jr. Is proposed to be realigned with the new structure over 85, and it will tie into the I-5000 project there at US 321. So now I'll open up for questions.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for that. Any questions from the panel at this time, the Board of Commissioners? I have one. The railroads, you had 3, I think, that were crossable, or 4, I guess, if you count the P&N. What kind of timeline are you guys looking to have that out of service? And I guess you've already, when you talk about, you'll go in and talk to those companies, of course, but what kind of timeline is start to finish? I mean, not holding you to it, I mean, is it a year, is it 6 months? How long does it usually take to build something to get them back in operation?
None of these will be out of service.
Okay.
The only one that will be out of service is the inactive portion of the Belmont Spur of the PNN, which is, but that bridge does have to be replaced. There is potential for trolley service there in the future. So that track work and bridge will be replaced and upgraded to support that future endeavor. The other 3 bridges, the 2 Norfolk Southern and the PNN Main Line, will all have active service while construction's ongoing. It'll be phased construction on the East Ozark Bridge, so we'll maintain 2 tracks at all times. So there are ultimately 4 tracks on that bridge. Norfolk Southern has agreed to temporarily move the yard services to the old Belmont yard. The department is in process of working with them to work through the plans that's needed to upgrade that yard. It's basically a series of maintenance items that will be needed there, and the department will be paying for that while we have the Gaston yard out of service. And then the PNN bridge there at East Ozark they'll have a temporary bridge to use while the new bridge is being constructed. At Grove Street, we're actually shifting slightly to the east of the existing bridge, and that's all been coordinated with the Norfolk Southern. So they'll maintain on the existing line while we're constructing the new one.
Any other questions, Board, at this time? Ms. Kathy, go ahead.
I have a few questions, and also thank you very much for coming to make this update to us tonight. But, so are these projects fully funded?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then how will the public be informed of the timeline and alternate routes and status of the projects?
There's a public information officer that will be assigned to this project that will be working with our administration staff or contract administration staff, the contractor staff, and we push updates out. There'll probably be a lot like the 150 project in Mooresville, where there'll be a website dedicated to that. They'll push out information so the traveling public will be aware of what's going on through the phases of the project.
We'll most likely have our PIO get on a dashboard with you guys to have it updated as well, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming today.
Thank
Commissioner Keeger, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and go back to item 1, which was commendations, proclamations, and awards and certificates. Commissioner Keeger doing a commendation today for the recognition of the 75th anniversary. Commissioner Keeger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call up any of the members of the Epsilon Upsilon chapter. Please come on up and join me. You're too old. Hey, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Come on up, guys. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I take it these are the colors of
Yes,
the
sir.
Lakers?
Yes, sir.
Tonight, we're here to gather to recognize the 75th anniversary of the Epsilon Upsilon chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and that's a mouthful. Whereas Omega Psi Phi fraternity founded on November 17th, 1911, at Howard University in Washington, D.C. by Professor Ernest Just and students Edgar Love, Oscar Cooper, and Frank Coleman, became the first international fraternity established on a historically black college campus. And whereas the Epsilon Upsilon chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity was officially chartered on March the 8th, 1950, in Gastonia by a distinguished group of 12 visionary men, including Leon Adams, Moses Blair, Glendale Brooks, Edward Drawn, Eugene Dunn, James Fox, Oscar Graham, T. Jeffers, George Miller, Carl Roberts, Frederick Smith, and J. Herman Twitty, who sought to establish a home for Omega men in Gaston, Cleveland, and Lincoln counties. And whereas, under the leadership of its founder, Brother Oscar Graham, the chapter was formed to foster the principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift, and quickly establish itself as a vital force in the community. And whereas over the past 75 years, the Epsilon Upsilon chapter has played a significant role in leadership in the fraternity's mighty 6th district, producing various representatives, finance officers, committee leaders, while also celebrating the accomplishments of its members, including 2 city mayors, 5 municipal elected officials, a city treasurer, 2 judges, a school superintendent, an assistant superintendent, and numerous other leaders in education and public service. Whereas the Epsilon Upsilon chapter has steadfastly upheld the principles of Omega Psi Phi fraternity by recognizing academic excellence, awarding scholarships to deserving students, supporting community programs both financially and through service, and continuously leveraging its influence to uplift and empower the communities it serves. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize and commend Epsilon Upsilon chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity upon the occasion of its 75th anniversary, and urges its citizens to join in celebrating the chapter's valuable contributions to our community. And this will be adopted on the 25th day of March. And gentlemen, feel proud to present these to you. And somebody going to say a word?
I think.
Okay. Have at it. All yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the panel. I am Glenn McFadden, the chapter bossless, aka president. On behalf of my fraternity brothers and the chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated of Epsilon Upsilon, we thank you for this recognition. We strive to work hard, and we continue to do our duties as we provide the services of Gastonia and surrounding counties. Once again, we thank you for this recognition. Thank you.
Haley and Shannon, you going to join? Okay. Well, how about we'll make Steve take her place? Hey. I believe I saw you at the meeting Monday or Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Okay. This proclamation is to recognize and honor the month of March as National Social Work Month. And whereas people have entered the social work profession for generations because they genuinely care about helping to improve the welfare of people, families, communities, and the nation as a whole. And whereas this year's Social Work Month theme, quote, compassion and action, end quote, embodies the fact that social workers go through years of education and training so they have the skills and expertise to transform their care for others into action that brings positive results. And whereas the social work profession has worked for generations to improve living conditions in the nation, with social workers successfully pushing for Social Security, a 40-hour work week, Medicare, and a minimum wage. And whereas social workers are at the forefront of pressing issues that our nation is addressing, including increased needs for mental health care, substance use disorder treatment, and increased economic and political division. And whereas social workers help protect millions of children and adults from abuse and neglect, provide services and support which help strengthen families that are under stress and help create new families through adoption. And whereas social workers are dedicated to helping others achieve successful outcomes through the removal of barriers. Now, therefore, be it resolved, in recognition of the numerous contributions made by Gaston County's social workers, the Gaston County Board of Commissioners proclaims this month, March, as National Social Work Month and calls upon all citizens to join in the celebration. And this too will be adopted on the 25th of March, and I will present that to you and let you say a word or two.
Thank you. Hello, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here and accepting this proclamation on behalf of the social workers here in Gaston County. My name is Haley Cunningham, a local social worker for the county, and I am honored to accept this on behalf of all of them for their hard work and dedication. Thank you.
It is a great pleasure for the Gaston County Commissioners to honor citizens who have unselfishly given of their time, talent, skills, and efforts and energies in service as an appointee to one of our many boards and commissions. This type of service is the foundation for the citizen involvement in our county government and is helping shape the future of our community. We gratefully acknowledge the work of the following individuals, and certificates of appreciation have been forwarded to them. Jonathan Fletcher, Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control. Naradu Smith, Transportation Advisory Board. The next item on the agenda, I'm going to come back to you, Justin. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way just real quick, just because there's only one. Our next item is citizens' recognition. A portion of the board's agenda is set aside for the purpose of allowing citizens the opportunity to offer comments and suggestions. The comment period is not intended to require the commission or staff to answer any questions or provide a response. Questions requiring a response shall be answered as soon as possible through the county manager's office. As soon as possible. Citizens' recognition tonight will be 5 minutes. Mr. Jack, as I call your name to the podium, Mr. Jack Brown. Hopefully you only use 2.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good to see you guys again. So you got your hands full, right? But you know, I came in a good time for what I want to discuss with you guys tonight, with the DOT people here. We were talking about widening 85 and all these things 20 years ago. So, but anyway, what I want to talk to you about tonight is Pennies for Progress. And we talked about that 20 years ago too. And the state legislators kicked it out for us. I know we had a few members on the board that were against it because it means raising sales tax. But the bottom line is we were not getting much action in getting roads built in Gaston County. I'm talking about state roads. I know York County has made a lot of inroads in using Pennies for Progress. They got a lot of nice highways down there if you've been through there lately. But it gives the DOT a little bit of help financially, and it also affords the people of Gaston County better roads to ride on. And this is just some food for thought. So I'd love to see what happens when this progress is done on 85. I know I remember back when I was working and when I got out of service, I went through the construction of Interstate 85 and the reconstruction of Wilson Boulevard. But that took quite a while. Now we're going through the reconstruction of 85 again. But anyway, but I think Pennies for Progress is something you should be thinking about. It is another tax, and that's a bad word in some cases. As a matter of fact, I've already talked with Donnie Loftus and John Torbert, and of course Brad Overcase, a representative in the Senate side. And they said they would support the county if they should decide to bring this forward. Because you need, because I know from the past, you gotta have local support as well as the General Assembly, in the General Assembly. So those three guys said they would be a plus for them to help you. So, but that's food for thought. And with the population growth we got going in Gaston County, brings to another problem we got. And this pertains to the municipalities, which you guys really don't have any control over, but we're having apartments, houses, and everything you can think of being built all over this county as we speak. The population increase in this county has increased by quite a bit, actually. I think the last count I had was around 25,000 people. Pretty close to that, but as far as population increase in Gaston County, I think it might be even more than that. But the point being is, with all these inflow into this county of new people and new apartments, new houses going up, they're taking a lot of good land that could be used for school. Now, I remember back in 2005, 4 and 5, when we were looking for property to build a high school. And myself and John, excuse me, myself and John Tarver were on a committee with the Board of Education. And had it not been for the fact that that property where Stuart Kramer is today, that was an old golf course, Lakewood Golf Course. If that property had not come available at that time, I don't know where we'd have built that high school. Because as you guys know as well as I do, when you build a high school now, you got to have probably for a baseball field, football field, soccer, all the things that go with that. And so it's gradually, this land is gradually shrinking every single day because most municipalities are thinking about the tax revenue they get for new houses and developments in their territory. But by the same token, we're going to be facing those same challenges as we did 20 years ago with the population growth going like it is today, that we're going to have to bank some land somewhere in this county for future schools. And we've got to start on that now, not later, but now, because this is going to be very important. If the growth continues like it is right now, it's going to be overwhelming us overnight, really. And so I think it'd be a good time to take that on as something to look forward to in the next section maybe. But I know, like I say, going along with the road building in this county, and it went very slow, as you guys know, for years. And but as you know, the General Assembly does what they want to do. And it used to be they had 5 people telling them what the whole state would do. But of course, I think some of that's changed now since there's a few Republicans up there. But I think we should take a look at the opinions for progress anyway, because it could amount to some help for the future. And it may even help us a little bit as far as banking some land for schools in the future as well.
We'll certainly take that into consideration, Jack. Thank you so much, sir.
I believe that's the end, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me tonight. Thank you.
The next item is going to be a presentation for One Gaston 2040 Initiative Update. Mr. Justin Amos, Executive Director of Intergovernmental Affairs and Relations, County Manager's Office. Please step up, and Mr. Amos.
Thank you, sir. All right, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vice Chair, Commissioners, county staff, and members of the public. On behalf of the One Gaston 2040 Steering Committee, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight to provide you all with a brief update on the One Gaston 2040 initiative, as we all work towards keeping Gaston County as a place where everyone thrives. So tonight I wanted to give you all a brief recap of where we've been, and then also where our focus area teams have been concentrating their efforts over the last year. So this, as you may recall, this has been a 3-year effort. It was started around 2021, 2022 as a community visioning process. We underwent 70 in-person and virtual meetings. We engaged 1,700 citizens, residents of our county, and received a bunch of feedback. And within that feedback grew into this vision and plan that we're going to discuss tonight. Within all those meetings we've had over the last 2 years, we've collected a lot of good data, and it's helped inform this vision as we've moved forward. So we're going to go through each of the focus area teams. So there was 5 teams that we've organized based on our vision and the feedback that we've received. The first one is One Gaston Cares. And so I wanted to give you a quick overview of what that team has been doing over the past year. So recently, within the last 6 months, the team has received the Duke Endowment Grant. And that grant is going to fund a healthy food program over a 5-year period. The program's titled the Healthy People, Healthy Carolinas Initiative, where it specifically addresses the areas of nutrition, food security, and increasing physical activity in underserved areas of our community. They've also undergone a food policy council, and that's something is new that they're going to initiate in the coming year. And they're also working with public health in their 2025 community health assessment to engage members of this group to help guide the work. So they're doing a lot in that particular focus area, and look forward to seeing where they go and take those initiatives in the coming year. The second focus area is Gaston Connects, and this is mostly about connecting, how people are connecting in our community. So it's roads, infrastructure, high-speed broadband, internet, those types of issues. So this group in particular meets once a quarter, sometimes monthly, but mostly once a quarter. And we focus on the big picture transportation projects. So if you'll recall, 2 weeks ago, you had an update on the CTP, the Comprehensive Transportation Plan for the county. That particular initiative is going to be taken to this group as a focus group and talk through the issues as we kind of map out what that plan looks like into the future. We've had a bunch of discussions about microtransit, the city of Gastonia transitioning from bus service to the microtransit, on-demand transit. We've worked with Carolina Thread Trail to help them plan out where their trails were going to be in the next 10 to 15 years. We've also engaged the Queen's University in Charlotte to work with them on their Community Navigator program and bring it here to Gaston County. So what that program is going to do is help provide resources, mobile devices, low-cost, high-speed internet into our community where right now we don't have that particular service. And it's going to concentrate on 2 groups. The first is school-aged children, and the second one is seniors. So the two groups that we found in looking at the data who most lack high-speed internet and then also access to mobile devices. Our third focus area group is One Gaston Grows. This particular team has focused most of their efforts over the last year on a couple of areas. So it's maximizing housing choices. So as our community grows, we want to ensure that everyone has access to different types of housing, not just one in particular. So they're looking at those options, but also retaining the character and natural amenities and beauty of our specific downtowns. So the county has 13 municipalities with 13 separate downtowns, and as the community grows, as we've talked about a lot over the last year, we want to make sure that the character stays the same. And so that's what that particular focus area is looking at right now and into the next year or two. The next one's One Gaston Works, and this is about workforce development mostly. We've partnered with Lynchburg, Virginia to see how the different options that they've gone through. They are interesting, and they try to do some innovative things as it regards to workforce development. So we've been in discussions with them to see how we can implement some of their projects here locally. But the big thing is trying to connect Gaston College, Belmont Abbey, and Gaston County Schools as it relates to workforce development, continuing education programs, having different options for adults trying to transition between careers. So their main focus has been trying to connect all 3 of those disparate entities, trying to get them talking on the same page so that we have a common kind of playbook for workforce development in our community. And finally, our fifth focus area is One Gaston Shines, and this is really promoting arts and culture in our community. It is trying to promote events as they happen. It's making sure everyone knows what's going on in our community, because there's something new and creative going on every single weekend. And so they worked with county communication staff to help promote all the various events that goes on each and every day. Also, the One Gaston 2040 week is coming up, and then that's part of the reason why I'm here, trying to do a blitz and go to all the cities, town council and board meetings to make sure that everyone knows what the One Gaston 2040 project's doing. Also, Gaston Shines does a really good job of promoting events that the county holds ourselves. So like the Get to Know Gaston event that's coming up on April 3rd, they've been promoting that as well. The Gaston Community Explorer is a website that we've developed in-house. But basically, it lives out there on the internet. You Google Gaston Community Explorer, but it's an attempt to bring data from all aspects of government, business, the U.S. Census data, all into one place. And so if you're interested in moving here, moving your business here, you can go to the Gaston Community Explorer to find all of that information at your fingertips. So it talks about health outcomes, population data as our population's grown over time. It shows educational levels, it shows tourism, traffic data, it's all kinds of demographic data that you could ever need. It's all found on the Gaston Community Explorer. Also, it's broken out countywide, but you can also go into a specific jurisdiction. So if you wanted to go see educational levels for males in the town of Dallas, you can do that based on the U.S. Census data. So it's very accurate and specific. And there's also some embedded tools that are on there as well. Like the gentleman was talking about this earlier about the 85 expansion. There's a lot of traffic maps that you can search across the county. It's embedded with our county GIS, and it has broadband and internet information there as well. So it's a really neat tool. It's easy to use, and I encourage you all to explore that at your leisure. And finally, I just wanted to help. The reason I'm here is help spread the word about the One Gaston 2040 initiative and make sure that you all are informed of what's been going on the last year and kind of where this group is going. There are two. We've put in two of the QR codes here. One will take you directly to the Community Explorer, and the other one is intended for cities and towns within our county to help So, for example, as City of Gastonia is updating their strategic plan, we would like the One Gaston 2040 to be integrated with everyone's plans, and so that we've created a toolkit to do that, and that's located there on that QR code. So. That's it. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you all to kind of let you all know what's been going on with the 2040 plan. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to discuss those.
Any questions from the Board of Commissioners this time? Seeing none, thank you, Justin. We will move on to the next phase. Any other matters need to come before the board at this time? I will now call on the county attorney, Mr. Goldberg, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do believe we have a need for a closed session. I ask that the board vote to go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3, A5, and A6.
Motion to go into closed session? Motion made by Commissioner Bailey, seconded by Commissioner Hovis. Any discussion? All in favor? We are now in closed session. Do I have a motion to come back into regular session?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Kieger, seconded by Commissioner Hovis. All in favor? We're back in regular session. David, County Attorney, could you please take the floor?
Yes, sir. Based on the discussions among the board, I believe the board would like to entertain a motion to approve and ratify the execution, or authorize the chair to execute a contract retaining the legal services of Martha Long for the services of the board.
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. This concludes tonight's work session for tonight. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, March 25th, 6 p.m. here in the Harley B. Gaston Junior Public Forum. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, please telephone our clerk, Donna S. Buff, at 704-866-3196. And don't forget, if you want to come out and watch the extravaganza where I put the soccer ball past Vincent, we're ready to do it. Good night, Gaston.